Hello, Facebook. And today we're going to talk about homeopathy for dogs, specifically our dog Travis, for a lump in his jaw, his top right jaw over here. There was a big lump in his jaw, and this happened May, March actually. All we did was put one step in front of another. We did not panic. We did not take him to a doctor or a hospital. We could have. And I will talk about what would have happened if we had chosen to do that. But first, let me relate you the story. So, it all started March 21st. This was a Thursday evening when we had a neighborhood potluck at our house. Our dog Travis is now 14 and a half years old. After the party the next day, we saw that Travis woke up with a big lump on his right upper jaw, right under his eyes, so about here. He was very obviously in pain. He would not let anyone touch it. It was very tender. He would yelp if I even tried to come near it. Going to the vet was an option, but homeopathy first. Let's think about what the vet would have done. The vet would have examined him. Before he examined him, he would probably have knocked him out because he was not letting anyone come near his mouth without kicking and screaming and barking and biting. Then perhaps he would have lanced the abscess if he had found it, or taken some measure there, pulled out a tooth or two, used antibiotics and steroids and painkillers for comfort. And these are enormous stressors to a dog who hates being away from a beloved environment, from their owner, and particularly a dog like Travis, who's 14 and a half, terrified of doctors and hospitals, and the drugs would have wiped out his gut, wiped out his system. The painkillers would have made his joints weaker, would have caused strains and sprains because they destroy collagen. Aspirin, Tylenol, all of these things destroy your proteoglycans. So the question that I had when the lump happened was, why did he get the lump? Why did he get the lump? Maybe he hurt himself on a bone, you know. Maybe he had been chewing on a bone, and maybe he hurt himself. There were kids at the potluck playing with him. Maybe he got hurt in the horseplay. Hard to tell, but you have to work with the assumptions that you can make from looking at the dog, the person, the symptoms, and you put one foot in front of another and continue with fortitude until you get to the right answer. And you work on your assumptions until they get displaced by actual evidence of what actually happened. So we'll never know what happened. It could also be from the dirt he has been recently eating. I noticed that as dogs get more elderly, I don't know if it's because their eating gets disordered, or they don't assimilate, or they're trying to warn us and tell us, hey, I need more dirt-like things in my diet. But he had been eating more dirt recently, just as our Roxy did a year or two before she passed away. So animals routinely sniff around, eat dirt, sticks, roots, root around stones, and get hurt. They can get bacterial and fungal infections in their mouths. And lumpy jaw actinomycosis is a very standard problem with animals that gets treated very well with homeopathy, that responds very well to things like kali iode, calcarea fluorica, Hecla lava, etc. It could be an abscess in his upper right gums from an infection or a dental decay or injury. And so while you're thinking about these things, you also have to think about what might have caused this problem so there's no recurrence. Animals in their old age also start to eat dirt and do other disordered sort of things. So first you got to look to the diet. Increase the bone, increase the minerals, increase the charcoal, the cell salts. And that is what we did. We did all of that. But this requires observation, loving observation of your dog. And what I find we do with doctors and veterinarians and hospitals is we wait, we carry on as we are. The dog gets sicker, sicker, sicker. You know, an owner knows when a dog's lost their vitality, when they don't want to walk anymore, or they want to hang out, or they get touchy, they don't want to be touched, or they sit around in a corner. We know something's going on, and that is the time to take action. Animals in their old age in particular will do weird things, and you have to respond to them. And this requires observation. And I think the most wonderful part about homeopathy is that you learn to observe. You learn to observe, and in doing so, you don't repeat the cycle of badness. And you don't go to a doctor when you hit a wall or a crisis. You act before that. When you observe an animal, when you really learn to observe an animal, a lot of problems can be nipped in the bud. A lot of us find doctors and hospitals so convenient that we abdicate our responsibility, our initial responsibility in thinking about why and how it happened. And the sad part is our perverted healthcare system pays for such crises. Things like lumpy jaw, they'll pay for, but not diet, or the preamble to that crisis, such as mood changes, digestive changes, energy changes, and so on. So, what did we do? I started him first on frequent water doses of arnica, intercurrent with kali iodatum and Calc Fluor, all in rotation. Remember, I couldn't touch him. He had a big swollen jaw, yay thick, about an inch up in the air and inch and a half in diameter. He would not let anyone touch and massage the area. So that was a good thing. There was nothing permanent. I continued with the kali iode, Calc Fluor, every couple of hours. And the way I did it was in these kinds of bottles. That's kali iode 30C. It's a low put. No, 200C. It's a 200C. This is a Calc Fluor, a cell salt, and I just carried on. You put a couple of pills in water, you shake them, and you give a dropper full every couple of hours. So whenever I remembered, I would give them to him along with arnica. So the pain went away, the swelling went away. His body in the last few weeks had been stinking a lot. His fur was stinking, his mouth was stinking, so I knew something was up in his mouth. So I gave him a few doses of arsenicum album, and that immediately fixed the stink. Wiped him, washed him, but that's not an answer. That just gets rid of the stink, but it doesn't fix the fundamental problem. We started giving him charcoal in his food. The stink is largely gone, and he is much more cheerful. April 21st, which would be yesterday, finally he let me examine his mouth while we were sitting outside, and I had my glasses on. When you get to my age, you can't see things without a pair of glasses and lots of light. So I looked at his mouth finally, and what I saw was over here in his upper right molar in the back. Above that, there was a big abscess that was slowly subsiding. It had green pus in it. So hallelujah, found out what was going on. The abscess obviously has been decreasing in size, but there's green around the gum, in the gum pockets up there. So there's a big fat green draining abscess in his upper molars, and it had obviously considerably shrunk in the last few weeks. So what do you do then? There are two remedies that come up: Hepar for green abscessy stuff and mercurius. So I immediately started him on Hepar, cell salt. So I think it's not cell salt, but very low potency, 3 or 6x in water, and that's Hepar in water. You bang it and you keep giving it to him, and that had an immediate impact on him. He became cheerful. He was running during his walk. His tail was up, and he is a much happier person. As a side effect from all these remedies, a small wart, which was like a pink tumor-like thing on his thigh muscle, has become shrunken, and it's itching, and he's trying to lick it off. And so these remedies that address uh, that abscess, that address the abscess in his jaw, are also addressing some of the other skin problems. But I would say the question to ask here is, why did he get an abscess when he had never had an abscess in the last 6 years? And what can we do to prevent a recurrence? So that's what every dog owner's got to ask, or human owner or human being has to ask themselves, why did this happen? And that's one of the sad problems with our medical establishment, which is we never go into the causation. We never go into etiology. And in homeopathy, etiology is yay big. It consumes. It is the underpinning of the remedy we will give. Why did this thing happen? Um, One of the things I surmise that happened was because we have him on a less animal based, less carnivore diet, which is based on meats, of course, meat and bone and organ meats and all that, but but some vegetables. And in the last few months, especially as I was gone away, he had been, the carbs, the starchy stuff had been creeping up into his diet in the form of sweet, very sweet baked potatoes. Folks, dogs are carnivores. Their pancreatic function is very low. They don't make the kind of insulin we human beings are adapted to making, to eat starch, sugar, ice cream, pumpkins, baked potato. Even if they're vegetables, these are starches. And there's a strain on their digestive system. And that is one of the key causes of dental problems. The carbs in their diet that they can't metabolize. He was getting rice, he was getting baked potatoes, so we've taken those out. He still gets some vegetables because he loves the crunch, but these are non-starchy vegetables, and it's again back to meat, lots of fats, whether it's lard or tallow or butter or coconut oil, bone or eggshells, oven toasted and ground eggshells for bone until during the week, sometimes he gets a bone to chew on. Organ meats like heart, liver, kidneys, if we find kidneys, and tripe. So we started that. We reduced the carbs considerably because he's not had a dental problem in the last 6 years, and now all of a sudden he has this abscess in his gum. So we're still feeding him a carnivore diet, but with some non-starchy vegetables. He's also lost a little bit of muscle mass in the last year. And people say dogs lose muscle mass as they grow older, but if we up the meat, I'm hoping the muscle loss will decrease and he will gain his muscle mass back, and he will run like the wind as he used to when he was on a very carnivore, high-fat diet. He has also slowed down in general. He has developed in the last year lenticular sclerosis, and that could also be an effect of glycation, sugar in the diet. And so that's the clouding of the lenses, and it has considerably reduced in the last few, I'm going to say 3 or 4 months, since we increased the meat component of his diet. But it's going to continue to some degree, but he's going to be able to dissipate the sclerosis of the lens a lot more. And so we observe also that in the winter months is when there's a lot more suicides. There's a lot more sickness in the elderly, in dogs, when your vital force is low. And I know that Travis was much more subdued this winter, November, December, than he has been in the past. And so those are the kinds of things you want to be aware of. Give them plenty of sunshine in winter, maybe vitamin D if you have to, maybe things rich in vitamin D such as raw milk. But those are my observations. So end to end, March 21st, April 21st, to change his diet, for him to be on a variety of remedies, for his skin to get better, for his wart to dry off, and all is well with Travis. Let me see if there's any comments. No comments, but put your comments and experiences with older dogs down in the comments below if you have a chance, and tell me how you dealt with it. So the remedies we used were kali iode, Calc Fluor, arsenicum album for the stink, Hecla lava from time to time, and now more recently Hepar, and I'll probably follow that up with Silica so that the abscess really drains and heals, and we will change his diet. So right now in his diet, he's getting some turmeric, nutritional yeast. He's getting a green, leafy green powder, some non-starchy vegetables, but largely meat, fat, organ meats, and bone. So that's the story of Travis. He is thriving and doing really well again. And hopefully things will get better as time goes by. He's already much more cheerful. And we will live through yet another episode of things that happen to our dogs. So please share your success stories with homeopathy and with pets down below, and I'll post it to YouTube as well as Rumble in case anyone wants to watch them there. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.